as I was saying, this is a topic really close to our heart at Rapid, and we want to talk to you about mastering digital transformation with 3 particular tools and an integrated suite approach. I'm going to take a look at LeanIX, SAP Signavio, and SAP Cloud ALM throughout the session. First, I'd like to introduce our presenters. So obviously you're hearing from me now, Neil Start. I'm the founder and one of the directors at Rapid, and I'm an SAP certified transformation consultant. If people are interested in badges, I've got over 20 years of experience with SAP in a variety of roles, from developer through consultant, architect, program manager, and strategic advisory roles. I'll be handing you over to Gary to talk about process and Signavio. And Gary, again, has got 20 years of experience focused on SAP business process optimization and is certified in SAP Signavio and also in Celonis. And finally, we'll hear from Jose. Jose is our product owner for SAP ALM, over 10 years of experience, predominantly in the ALM field, right the way through from change management to testing in SAP implementations and operation. Okay, and before I do go into our session, it's just time, because the attendees today are getting a preview of the new Rapid brand. So for the last 10 years, Rapid ERP have been focused primarily on SAP application lifecycle management and all the tools and methodologies to help facilitate that, especially in the area of Agile for SAP. But in order to help deliver successful transformations, we're really now broadening our reach and our range of services. And we've introduced a whole host of strategic advisory and assurance services with the remit of helping our customers to deliver a successful transformation. We'll come on to some of the statistics and some of the outcomes for digital transformation programs shortly. But our mission right now is really to help ensure that digital transformation delivers on its promise. So we've evolved from Rapid ERP to Rapid X, X being a marker for hidden value and for collaboration. So yeah, everyone on the call today is getting a sneak preview of the new brand. Okay, so I'm going to go into, first up, I'm going to go into the bad news. And that's really that whatever way you look at the statistics and whoever you believe, this particular stat is from Boston Consulting Group. But unfortunately, digital transformations in the majority are not successful. Only 30% of digital transformations are viewed as truly successful. And this study has taken in inputs from over 825 organizations globally. But it's a wonder that we accept these odds. We wouldn't embark on a trip or board a plane if we knew the chances of successfully reaching our destination were only around 30%. And yet, repeatedly, organizations kick off digital transformations. They start this process, and they accept that the odds are around about 30% of success. And if I look back over my own career history, I've been introducing myself recently and realized that I've worked with over 35 different organizations. I've done nearly 20 full lifecycle SAP implementation programs, 7 of those involving S4. And it pretty much reflects those stats. Some of them have been really successful. They've been well adopted by the business. They've won SAP quality awards, gold quality awards for how well they've been delivered. But actually, if you look at the history and you look at the industry, this is probably bearing reality that 30% of them succeed, and the others, for some reason or another, whether they're over time or over budget, whether they don't meet their objectives or they don't deliver value. Unfortunately, this is the reality of the market that we exist in. So at Rapid, we're trying to change those odds, and we're recommending that customers focus on these dimensions to ensure a better successful outcome for their own transformation initiative. So we're starting off with strategy, and this is the big picture of what we're doing, how we're achieving it, and most importantly, the why. What business objectives do we aim to address? How is it going to deliver value and outcomes to our business? We've then got process at the heart of how we're going to use the technology and how we're going to use it to drive the correct results and outcomes for our business. The solution, so the technology, systems, applications underpinning the transformation. And of course, we've got the people. You can't deliver a successful transformation without bringing people and users and your entire organization with you. So a lot of the transformations that we've seen not have the results that might be expected or desired really neglect this aspect. We can't forget about people. And all this stuff is sat on a foundation of data. So, you know, we can't forget data. It underpins everything. And quite often it's neglected or left till too late. And we need to emphasize to people that we've got to focus on data early, identify data owners and who's going to take responsibility for the quality and integrity of that data, and make sure it's at the forefront of the transformation and it's considered at the right time. And that's not just the business data, but it's also the data underpinning the transformation program. So, as I say, what's the scope of the transformation? How are we approaching it? Making sure that there's transparency throughout all of the activities, whether they're performed by internal resources from your own organization or from external partners and systems integrators. But of course, with eyes on the prize, on the right-hand side, we've got outcomes and value. And these are essential. This is the bit that we need to, as I say, keep our focus on and make sure that we can track back and provide traceability to those outcomes and value right the way through this transformation journey. And some of the tools and the techniques that we're going to show you today enable you to do just that, that they put outcomes and value, which is the goal and the objectives that you're trying to reach, and they proliferate those right the way through the program and make sure that that there's a focus on it and that there's transparency of what drives what type of result. Okay, so at this stage, I just want to pause and we're going to just conduct a quick poll with regards to transformation and people's experiences and the challenges that are being experienced. So can we just bring up the first poll? Okay, so this is what people consider to be the top challenge or challenges for their S/4HANA transformation program. So you can select up to 3 choices. It's multiple choice, and hopefully some of these will be familiar to people. So we'll just provide a few more seconds to complete the poll. And then we have actually got some results from a similar poll that was conducted. So it'd be interesting to see whether they reflect the experience of our group of attendees today. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to complete that. Have we got the results of that one? Okay, fantastic. So managing data migration and quality, as we'd expected. Change management and user adoption. That's great to see. That's great to see people focusing on that and being aware that, as we said, that's a real driver for success. Identifying dependencies up there, defining target architecture, and another strong scorer, aligning business, IT, and project teams. Okay, that's great. So going into some of the statistics. As we move into an exploration of the strategy dimension, we'll go into some of the statistics of a similar poll that was conducted by LeanIX, which is one of the platforms that we're going to consider first up today. And this was done in 2022 and was, again, the top 3 S/4HANA transformation challenges. And similar to our own results, what you'll see here is aligning business, IT, and project teams is absolutely critical. It was ranked really highly. And similarly to some of the results that we've had, perhaps a little higher on this poll, defining target architecture and roadmap and identifying ERP and non-ERP interdependencies are obviously top of mind as people go through these type of programs. So moving on to talk about LeanIX. Basically, LeanIX has been designed as a platform to drive essentially modernization of IT landscapes and solutions and to enable organizations to perform continuous business transformation. It's a solution that allows organizations to create transparency with all the stakeholders involved in change and transformation, letting them visualize, assess, and manage the transition towards their target IT architecture at the end of the transformation roadmap. And, in exactly the same way as you need a map or ideally a sat nav to reach your destination when you embark on a trip, ideally you would have a platform and a set of tools like we're talking to you about today that enable you to navigate and be guided on your transformation journey. So you can think of these as synonymous. It's like the sat nav for your digital transformation. Okay, so LeanIX, for those that aren't already aware, is essentially an enterprise architecture management tool. Okay, it's consistently positioned in the top right quadrant of the analyst rankings and ratings, and it's used by a lot of large global customers, Adidas, Bosch, Lufthansa, and many, many more. And for those that aren't already aware, I'm sure everyone on the call probably is by now, but LeanIX was actually acquired by SAP late last year. And on the completion of that acquisition, SAP have then consolidated that portfolio of tools that we're talking to you about today, the so-called transformation suite of LeanIX, SAP Signavio, which again was an acquisition, and Cloud ALM, which is their own product that's been grown to replace and complement the functionality that for a long time has been provided by SAP Solution Manager. So as I say, LeanIX, enterprise architecture management tool, and the use cases that it performs, they're not just transformation. You'll see ERP transformation there on the bottom right of the top panel, but there's a lot of other things that LeanIX can do for your organization, whether it's application portfolio assessment, apps rationalization and modernization, or managing risk and technology standards. So when do platforms go in and out of support, and what are the future state of your legacy applications, and what are the potential applications that can replace those. It's got a great intuitive and modern UI, so it's very approachable and accessible. And as we said here, the key thing is about providing data-driven insights. You can do some of this stuff in other tools, but the value that LeanIX delivers is bringing those stakeholders together, allowing them to collaborate and have a single pane of glass onto the insights that they need to deliver effective transformation. Okay, so moving on to the kind of data that we manage in LeanIX. Through the middle, we can see some of the metadata, and we've got business objectives, initiatives, business capabilities. So this is a way of describing functionality and scope for a business without necessarily going into technical terms. We've got the business context, we've got interfaces, application objects, data objects, again, bringing that data to the front of the conversation and early on in the transition. But as you can see, you're managing all of the enterprise architecture artifacts and assets that enable you to provide transparency into, as I say, the strategic aspect of the transformation program. And then around the outside, we can see that we can integrate LeanIX with some of the tools that you may already use. So we've got the Microsoft suite, whether it's Teams or Power BI and Tableau for visualization. Top left, we've got Atlassian products. We're a big advocate at Rapid of the Atlassian tool set, and Jira and Confluence may form part of your transformation tooling, or those that are introduced by a partner. We've got SAP Signavio, which Gary's going to move on to talk about. But the point here is that it's an open standards-based integration model that allows you to pair LeanIX and the data it looks after with key partners and other solutions that you want to use in your transformation. And again, facilitating that single source of truth for the IT landscape and the enterprise architecture function. Okay, and then moving on to talk about the SAP Activate roadmap. So for people who are engaged in a transformation program or planning a transformation program, hopefully the Activate roadmap is familiar. It's SAP's methodology for how you can deliver these type of projects, and what phases, work packages, and tasks you need to take care of. And in this particular instance, we're looking at a SAP Activate roadmap for transformation with RISE. But as you can see, this is a complex graphic. There are a lot of, as we move through the phases of discover, prepare, explore, realize, and into deploy and run, there's a lot of different groups involved. There's a lot of different topic areas, and there's certainly a lot of tasks and work packages to take account of. And the point here is that LeanIX essentially drives value through both the project management area in terms of planning the milestones and dependencies, the execution and monitoring of the project, because we've got that traceability back to business objectives and value drivers and why we're doing this transformation, what we expect to achieve. And then, as you might imagine, through the application design and configuration area, we've got a lot of support from LeanIX. So whether it's defining the target architecture, preparing fit to standard workshops, or doing transition planning, and the fit to standard analysis, cutover preparation, system go live, it supports you right the way through the application design and configuration pillar. Just moving on to talk about essentially the transformation roadmap. So within LeanIX, we can document our transformation roadmap, and we can do that in a hierarchical view. We can basically indicate all of the initiatives that the enterprise is interested in, and then we can structure that as sub-projects that deliver the overall transformation. As you might imagine, we can identify milestones, indicate the dependencies between these packages of work, and fundamentally build and publish a transformation roadmap, either on an initiative level or on an application level. So we can slice and dice this and filter it with different views that allow the various stakeholders to see what they need to in terms of the scope and structure of this transformation within the enterprise. Identification of dependencies as well. So LeanIX is great at documenting the interconnectivity between the systems and applications in your landscape. And that means that you can then document and therefore identify and understand the dependencies and any risks in terms of having those integration points. Okay, so out of the box, we've got documented SAP standard interfaces and how they relate to each other. And you'll see from the legend and the graphic, there's directionality and information about the context of those interfaces. So whether it's consuming data, providing data to another system, or bidirectionally, it's operating in both directions. We can discover APIs that can be used to plug systems together, and fundamentally building a repository of interfaces like this that is live and kept up to date, and most importantly can be structured in a timeline view. So obviously this picture will evolve as you move through your transformation journey. So the idea here is that we can take a timeline-based view that says, what does this look like at phase 1 of our transformation? Maybe, most organizations today aren't doing a big bang conversion to S/4HANA. They're following some kind of phased approach with selective transformation, and LeanIX enables you to document that journey in a timeline-based view so that you can see at the completion of each of the phases of your transformation what your enterprise architecture looks like and what are the impacts on the underlying systems. So most customers we're working with now are needing to manage interim states as they move through their transformation, and this is a perfect way of making that view live. I mean, yes, there's other ways of doing it, and customers that we've worked with in the past have often done this in a series of spreadsheets or Visio diagrams or typical kind of enterprise architecture modeling tools. The benefit of making it a live repository is that it becomes real time and it becomes very contextual. And as we'll see with the integration, we can link that through to our other tools in the suite. Obviously, again, the benefit of having these interfaces and integrations documented is that we can evaluate the possible changes and the impact of those transformation scenarios. And as I've said, how that evolves over time. So you can see on the top our timeline view, and we're basically getting a view of which interfaces are added or removed and decommissioned as we move through this. And this is literally a live view. So as we drag the slider and move through the phases of transformation, then we can see that the interfaces that are evolving and changing and where new connections are being added. And at any point, it's possible to export one of these reports and obviously share it as a point in time view. Similarly, and back to the poll and the results of what people were looking to do, this is a key platform. LeanIX enables you to align your business and your business objectives and value drivers with your IT function and the scope of the process and solution that you're going to implement at a technical level, and where that's going to touch the users, where it's going to deliver value to the business. So the idea here is that we're able to synchronize the context and the information that we've mastered in LeanIX to platforms like SAP Signavio and onto SAP Cloud ALM to ensure that this is a single source of truth and that it's linked up across the entire transformation journey. Okay, there's out-of-the-box integration between LeanIX and Signavio. I think Gary's going to cover on some of that in his session as well. But the idea is that we can link the business process information with the underlying technology architecture and make sure that we've got a holistic view right the way through from that strategy piece, through process and into solution. Oops, one too far. And then finally, just again to reinforce what we're doing at each phase of the Activate roadmap. In Discover, we're promoting architecture transparency, assessing the as-is architecture, and identifying the dependencies and risks for our upcoming for our upcoming transformation program. And similar to that, SAP Signavio enables you to achieve similar transparency on the process. We're supporting the business case creation because in LeanIX, we're able to map business capabilities to value drivers, to support decision making, to prioritize the areas where our transformation is going to deliver tangible business value. And similarly, we can use Signavio to support that function as well, and the creation of the business case. And right the way through Explore and Realize, we're defining our target architecture and our transformation roadmap. We're publishing that, we're making it real. And then as we move into deploy and run, obviously LeanIX becomes a key tool to enable us to track that architecture usage and the impact. So when we're performing changes, when we've got outages, we're doing incident management and IT service management, this is the repository that enables us to see, what does this application support? What's the impact of a downtime on this application? Where is that going to be felt? And obviously, in terms of improvement, continuous improvement, we're monitoring the KPIs and the measures that we've set for our program, making sure that over time, the architectural platform that we've delivered is driving value and supporting that continuous optimization and improvement journey that we want to go on. Okay, so we're now going to move on from strategy and take a look at process. And to do that, I'm going to hand you over to Gary, who's going to take us into the topic of SAP Signavio. Just going to stop sharing there. Gary, hopefully you can pick up and share your screen.
Yes, hi everyone. Thanks Neil for that great introduction and overview of LeanIX. I'm just going to start presentation mode. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, you're in speaker view there. I just need to swap. There you go.
Yeah.
That's it. Thank you.
So referring back to RapidX's 4 pillars for a successful transformation journey, I'm going to cover the element of process, specifically around SAP Signavio capability. So we see transformation journey managed by 3 essential tools. Neil's already covered the LeanIX. Enterprise architecture management side of things, I will be covering the business process management and optimization element of it. But before we delve into SAP Signavio itself, there was a recent survey conducted by a well-known SAP market analyst firm towards the end of last year. And as part of that survey, some questions were asked around motivations for S/4HANA transformation. And a key driver for that S/4HANA transformation was obviously the looming 2027 end of mainstream maintenance. But second on that list was business process optimization, or the need to improve business processes as part of that transformation to S/4HANA. But then further along the survey, when they were asked about the technologies and the solutions that they were going to prioritize to deliver process optimization, actually business process optimization tooling was way down the list, around 10th place. Now, that's interesting because that would, you can perceive that as individuals. Imagine that simply the technological move from ECC to S/4HANA would deliver optimization of process. And I guess to some extent it does, in that it's an opportunity to harmonize and standardize those processes. But I still feel there is a definitive disconnect between what the perception is in terms of delivering process optimization and the investment of, or the attention given to the tooling that's actually going to bring about that optimization. So again, referring back to our 4 key pillars: strategy, systems, and processes. They need to be aligned so that companies can execute the capabilities to meet their objectives. Now, we all know that technology and solutions are really key, but as Neil's alluded to previously, it really depends on people. We're not talking just about people in terms of having the right resources, or having been enabled, having the right knowledge transfer or training. It also, what's really key to transformation success is stakeholder buy-in, making sure that everybody's on board, making sure that everyone feels invested in that transformation journey. That is really ultimately the key to success. Let's talk a little bit about Signavio components. Now, I don't really want to go into a huge amount of detail on each of these components, but the transformation suite is essentially a cloud-based tool, which is the go-to platform for everything that is process related. And what it really does encourage is that collaborative working together element. It democratizes process transformations and makes everyone within the organization feel invested. And it really is an essential enabler for transformation success. So we have a section here on process mining and analysis. Now, there are 2 essential tools here: process insights and process intelligence. Now, the former, process insights, is actually an SAP native tool. So as Neil discussed before, SAP acquired Signavio back in 2021, but process insights was already a cloud-based version of some of the business process analytics capability that exists in SAP Solution Manager, if anyone's familiar with that. And it is, it's far more intuitive. It is full of hundreds of KPIs, standard best practice KPIs. And what this allows you to do is to gain essential insights into how the business is performing in terms of executing their processes. So it will highlight things like open and open transactions, exceptions, backlog, documents that should have been closed have not been closed. So it's a really essential tool to prepare for data migration. So it allows you to cleanse your system before you move to S/4HANA. And Process Insights is continuously being updated with correction recommendations, innovation recommendations, so opportunities to automate, for example. And it really is the precursor to any transformation journey to S/4HANA. So it doesn't matter where you are on your transformation journey, Process Insights can add value, but our recommendation would always be to use Process Insights as soon as possible in your transformation journey, because it gives you a visibility of your as-is situation. What are you doing currently? What is going to be the transformation leap that you need to take to get to where you want to be? Now, the process intelligence element of this is essentially SAP Signavio or SAP's process mining capability. So it's extremely sophisticated. It allows you to customize widgets to create a multitude of different bespoke KPIs, and it allows you to do variance analysis. It allows you to map your current process performance against your process flows from SAP Signavio. And this is also continuously being updated with new features. Now, the process manager journey modeling capability of SAP Signavio is all around strategy. So when we talk about journey modeling, rather than always look inwardly about what it is that we want to do, it gives you the opportunity to start seeing your transformation journey and planning your transformation journey and your process transformation journey from an outward perspective looking in. So what are your customers? What are your suppliers? Even up to even your employees. What is it that they expect from an S/4HANA transformation? And it allows you to tailor your process changes to reflect some of these additional factors. Now, process manager is really the bread and butter of SAP Signavio traditionally. So the SAP Signavio really is fundamentally a business process management tool. So Process Manager allows you to create sophisticated process models, design documentation, and it's all housed in the one place. So none of this where people are saving their process flows in Visio diagrams or any other kind of templates, and they're sort of kept in departmental silos, and no one really knows where anything is. Signavio is that central repository. So that's the go-to place where all of your processes are stored. And then finally, once you've actually deployed your solutions, you have the ability to monitor and govern how those processes are changed, how they are published. You have traceability of those changes, who's approved them. And through process automation, which is part of SAP Build, you have the ability to add some automation to your workflow processes. So in terms of approval workflows, you can ensure as well that there is regulatory compliance. So when the new regulations come into place, you can ensure that those processes are adapted accordingly. But let's go back to people again. It's really, really important to emphasize this point, that people are really at the heart of transformation. And what Signavio does exceptionally well is provide the tools or the capability and the incentive to want to know about process, to feel invested in what that process transformation journey. And the collaboration hub allows you not only to have it be a gateway to all of the other components within SAP Signavio, but the Explorer, which is also accessible from the collaboration hub, it gives you access to a huge repository of value accelerators, best practice tools, capability maps, and they're all designed to accelerate time to value. And what that means essentially is that you're not starting from scratch. So it gives you the opportunity to predict and ensure that you stick to your timelines and you stick to budget, and you can monitor that throughout your transformation journey. So we talk about SAP Signavio, fantastic, but actually you need to deploy. You need to actually implement the S/4HANA solution. Now, SAP Signavio is perfectly suited to SAP Activate methodology for S/4HANA transformations. And it will provide value at every single step of that transformation journey. So if all of you are familiar with the Discover, Prepare, Explore, Realize, Deploy, Run phase, I think Neil already alluded to that earlier in the presentation, we would use process insights, as I've mentioned before, to understand what is the current state, what are we doing at the moment? And it gives you the opportunity to start identifying opportunities for improvement, for cleansing your data, for aligning your master data. And it gives you that initial transparency and understanding as to, well, how much work have we got to do to get to where we want to be. The preparation phase is using the journey model, again, using that external influence from customer or supplier viewpoints to actually define how you want your processes to look going forward. And then you actually start to model those processes. You can model the existing processes. You can simulate through Process Manager what the change is going to reflect. So what is the fit gap between your as-is processes and your to-be processes? And this is where we get to the realize phase, where SAP Cloud ALM, and if any of you are still using SAP Solution Manager, this comes to the fore. So it's essentially, you've defined your solution, you need to build it, test it, deploy it, and then you manage change subsequently. But once you've deployed, then you use process governance to ensure and promote adoption. And one of the answers to the first polls that we saw was around the change management piece. Now, process governance is going to help you ensure that process not only are changed according to regulatory controls, but also that are published in accordance with your own internal policies. And it gives you an opportunity to monitor adoption and monitor compliance of how those processes are being executed, those new to-be processes are being executed. Now, process intelligence fundamentally is, as we mentioned before, a process mining tool, and it can be adopted in the discover phase to support process insights. And in fact, there is some integration between the two. So process insights data can actually be ingested into process intelligence for further granular analysis. But where it does most definitely come to the fore is subsequent to your S/4HANA transformation, because it really gives you the opportunity to use performance monitoring. So you can establish dashboards, executive dashboards, and so forth, notifications, to really help analyze and monitor whether the processes that you've defined are actually being adhered to. And it will help you identify further improvement opportunities. So really the Signavio transformation suite is built not only for the transformation journey itself. Let's be honest, it's never going to end. The transformation journey is continuous. So this is really important, that this suite is not just there for the project phase. It's there for preparing you for the digital era. Now, with that, I think this is a good opportunity to introduce the second poll with respect to business process optimization. If we could introduce that, would be great. So we'll just give a couple of minutes for your answers to be submitted. Okay, hopefully that's enough time. And if we can see the results, that'd be great. Yeah, and this is the kind of results that we would expect to see. And it's great to see that the two top ones are really fundamental to SAP Signavio and what it's all about. But actually, you know, there is quite a lot of consistency across the answer range here. So, okay, we'll close that for now and continue with the next element. So we'll just now wrap up with the Signavio benefits. So I'll keep referring back to people, and I really can't emphasize enough that in our experience, you know, people not only being enabled, but actually having that vested interest in the feeling that business process matter to them and they have a part to play and there is a stakeholder buy-in. So top down, bottom up approach, whatever you may have, it's important to ensure that everyone feels invested in that transformation journey. And Signavio essentially is there to allow you to run anything that's process related. And it's the go-to tool to essentially govern how your company runs its operations. So we realize more value from SAP investments. Now, in doing so, it's because we don't see SAP S/4HANA transformation simply as a technological upgrade. It is an amazing opportunity to really redefine the way that your business runs. Supports resiliency, scalability, and growth. It makes you more agile. The fact that you have transparency and visibility, and you know where you need to go to take action, allows you to respond and react quickly to, you know, internal or market or external forces, whatever they may be. Data-driven decision making. It's because it's based on factual, objective data. You know, there is no debate about the data that you're seeing in SAP Signavio. So it removes speculation. It removes that sort of subjective, opinionated view of making decisions. And we talked about it as well, about customer experience and satisfaction, you know, taking that customer perspective and ensuring that you're delivering what your customer expects from you through your transformation journey. So you can improve some of those key performance indicators that are important to our customers, such as OTIF, for example. And again, promoting this culture of continuous improvement. It's people again. It's instilling a mindset across the organization to want to improve the operational running of that organization. And with that, I like to, no, I'm still here actually, one more slide, sorry. Here what I'd like to do is just talk about the integration element of LeanIX, SAP Signavio, and SAP Cloud ALM. Now, obviously, my colleague Jose will talk in some detail about SAP Cloud ALM shortly, but I just wanted to emphasize the fact that the synergetic interplay of these three tools and how important they are to deliver successful transformation. So we know LeanIX, SAP Signavio, Cloud ALM together. We know LeanIX is strategic, talks about business capabilities, it's systems applications, it's all about your technological landscape. SAP Signavio is about the process. SAP Cloud ALM, as a solution manager, is about the solution design, test, and deployment. But LeanIX and SAP Signavio together accelerate the transparency analysis of everything to do with your IT and process landscape. And it's really critical that you align business process enterprise architecture. So when you design your future state, and I remember in the first poll, this was actually quite important. How do you get the business and IT talking the same language? Now, LeanIX and SAP Signavio really facilitate that because they do bring the business into the equation. And then you have Cloud ALM, which is essentially allowing you to manage change holistically across the organization. So again, that's a key point. This is an enterprise-wide solution. This is really helps to sort of break down silos. If we talk about LeanIX, Signavio, now SAP Cloud ALM integrations that they currently exist, well, Neil already alluded to the fact there's bidirectional synchronization of data between SAP Signavio and LeanIX. So a BPM process model from SAP Signavio can be ingested into LeanIX and fact sheets, and vice versa. So a LeanIX application can also be stored in the SAP dictionary, or SAP Signavio dictionary, and that can be used as an element when building your process models. And by clicking simply on an application within that process model will take you back into LeanIX, so you can see that process and that application within the context of either enterprise architecture or the process itself. And SAP Cloud ALM and SAP Signavio, at the moment, you can import, export BPM models between the two, but what we know for sure is that SAP Signavio senior management are looking to integrate the process editor, or essentially process manager of SAP Signavio, into SAP Cloud ALM. And that should be coming our way maybe in the next 12 months or so. But what I think that does, it shows SAP's commitment to delivering continuous enhancements to what we think is already an indispensable ALM platform for the digital area. So watch this space. And with that, I'd like to pass you over to my esteemed colleague Jose to talk to you about SAP Cloud ALM. Thank you very much.
Much, Gary. Okay, let me just share my screen. I'm gonna let me know. I think that now you should be able to see my screen.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, now that my colleague have been talking about 2 dimensions to optimize efficiency and foster innovation in the realm of digital transformation, I would like to focus your attention on the solution dimension that is going to be delivered by SAP Cloud ALM. So this product has been developed for application lifecycle management and is suitable for hybrid SAP solutions. I'm talking about on-premise and cloud, of course. And it's going to join you during the transformation journey by using different phases, starting with the onboard, This is where you invite the users. You're basically going to be assigning the roles and creating the project teams where they're going to be allocated. Then we move to the design phase. This is where you're going to be running your fit to standard workshops. You're going to also create and customize the processes that are relevant for this implementation. And this is going to be done from SAP Signavio. And on top of that, you're going to be capturing all the requirements that are coming from the business, and this can be used as your initial backlog. Then we move to the build phase, where you're going to be managing your project template. So depending on the nature of the implementation that you're working on, we're talking about S4 transformation, SuccessFactors, Concur, Ariba, or you can have a cross-implementation project. You're going to have that template available. And you're going to customize these templates by adding the user stories and tasks that these are the translation from those requirements that have been captured from the business into a piece of activity that needs to be completed during the whole deployment. And after that, you can also plan the whole project execution. You can also bring reporting capabilities, so it helps you to keep an analysis on the whole progress that has been done so far. We move to the test phase, and at this point, you're going to be structuring all the test plans that are relevant for the testing. We're talking about user acceptance testing, regression testing, and this is going to be done by the manual execution with the help of a test step design. And currently, you will have Tricentis that is currently enabled and integrated with SAP Cloud ALM. That is the main engine for running a test automation. We move to deploy, where you're going to be planning the releases. You're going to be orchestrating a continuous deployment to production. And here you're going to enable changes, which provides a traceability and audit trail, so you can keep a track about who has done what and when during the whole process and implementation. And finally, we move to the innovate phase, where you're going to be monitoring the whole solution that is currently in production, and you can plan for the improvement that you want to implement in the future. So now if we look back to what we have introduced today, we have talked about 3 dimensions: strategy with LeanIX, processes with SAP Signavio, and now you go on solutions with SAP Cloud ALM. But I would like to talk about the people's dimension from the training perspective, and this is going to be delivered by SAP Enable Now, which is a product for knowledge management, and it's going to help to operate SAP solutions by providing e-learning content available for the users during the whole implementation. In terms of the benefit of this product, we have a single source, because you can publish new media content with minimal efforts in one single source. It's suitable because you can train the users during the whole implementation, and even after go live, you're going to have some content that is going to be available. It's integrated by providing content sensitive in-app with those systems that are part of this implementation that you're working on. Reusable, because it allows you to work efficiently by combining multiple content from different input channels. And intuitive, because you can combine on-screen capabilities that will make the whole e-learning process more dynamic and easier to follow. Now, something that I would like to mention here, and perhaps many of you is wondering about product and the future of this product, is SAP Solution Manager. And what I can say right now is that the maintenance of this product is going to come to an end by the end of 2027. But the future for application lifecycle management is going to be SAP Cloud ALM. SAP is right now working on delivering a constant enhancement every 2 weeks, which is good to see, because if I compare these with the solution manager on an on-premise approach, normally support packages are being delivered every year, maybe 2 years. So having the the fact to have functionalities enabled every 2 weeks is really good. And I know the solution manager is quite mature and offers robust capabilities, especially when it's combined with add-on software like SAP Focus Build. But currently, we have multiple functionalities working on both products. So this is, I think it's worth looking some of them in more detail. So starting with SAP Solution Manager, we have a predefined best practice processes, whereas in SAP Cloud ALM, we have a more flexible end-to-end implementation process. Talking about Focus Build, we have a process governance that is fully controlled on this product, whereas in SAP Cloud ALM, we have a process guidance that enables traceability to support users in case that something goes wrong. And on top of that, you can have some system recommendations. When it comes to the document management side, from SAP Solution Manager, we have the single source of truth. This tool basically helps organization to allocate all the main documentation for the business. And especially when you're using Focus Build, you enable KPI features that can take after the whole process delivery across the solution. Whereas in Cloud ALM, we have a lightweight version of documents that is going to be supported with other products like Microsoft SharePoint or Atlassian Confluence. Talking about the test management side, this is fully integrated with Focus Build, so it helps you to create all the test plans that are relevant for an implementation. You can allocate the users, you can do an analysis of all the testing that has been performed at that phase of the program, whereas in SAP Cloud ALM, it's quite efficient as well. You can create multiple test plans, you can make use of test step design, and you can now use Tricentis as your main engine for running automatic testing. Talking about the defect correction process, again, this is fully integrated with Focus Build. It gives you that stability during the whole deployment process, because in case that something goes wrong, you can create a transaction. This is gonna allow you to have a transport request, and this is gonna be aligned with the whole release process that is ready to go to production. Whereas in SAP Cloud ALM, there is a lightweight version of this process where you can create defects for those specific testing that are failing, and they are gonna be driven by the chain control tool that I'm gonna explain later on. But at this point, there is no integration with transport requests. And finally, talking about chain control, this functionality with Focus Build and Charm in Solution Manager is a status-driven solution. And when it comes to the deployment of your release, this is going to be handled by the use of batch imports that are going to be at the background of the whole solution. Whereas in SAP Cloud ALM, we have chain control as well. We're going to be using a transaction that is called a feature, where you can create transport, and that allows you just to organize the whole deployment and the whole release that you are ready to move to production. There are no features like downgrade protection, cross-system object lock, or retrofit yet, but it's something that SAP is working to deliver in the future. So as you can see, SAP Cloud ALM is flexible because of the cloud native design. So all the streamlines functionality that you can see here are suitable for hybrid and cloud environments. So with this, I think that I would like us to take the opportunity to ask for a poll question. So if we can bring poll number 3 to the screen, please. So this is going to be focusing on, trying to see what motivates the organization to do a transition from SAP Solution Manager to SAP Cloud ALM. So if I give you a few seconds, hopefully you can give us that indication of, especially if you have heard about SAP Cloud ALM, or if you're right now thinking about doing the migration to Cloud ALM. So if we can see the answers now on the screen. Good, so I can see that most of the people is right now thinking about the fact that SAP Solution Manager is coming to an end in 2027. And obviously you are also looking for some support to help you with this transition. So what I'm gonna do right now is that with my next slides, hopefully I'm gonna give you some recommendation for a smooth transition between these two products. So let's move on. Starting with those of you who are currently not using SAP Focus Build because you think that it's too complex, expensive, definitely think about using SAP Cloud ALM. If we're talking about growth with SAP, that is more focused for small and medium organizations in the adoption of ERP cloud solution, think about using SAP Cloud ALM. Talking about RISE with SAP, and this is a program to help customers to migrate and modernize the ERP products from on-premise to the cloud. Again, think about using SAP Cloud ALM. If you're currently using SAP Solution Manager and Focus Build, keep an eye on the readiness check because this is going to give you all the information in terms of the functionalities that are going to be available for SAP Cloud ALM. We're going to share the link here. And in this situation, hopefully it's going to help you to do a smooth transition to SAP Cloud ALM. If your decision is basically using SAP Focus Build because you think that it's more mature, what I can recommend here is that, yeah, you can carry on with this product if you think that the implementation is going to happen for the next 2 years before the maintenance for this product is going to end. But you have to think about doing the transition. So you have to keep looking at the readiness check because this is going to help you to identify what is going to be available for doing the transition. And finally, if you are currently running multiple projects in parallel, I think that my recommendation will be using both tools. You will see the benefit. You can have Focus Build for managing the main project, whereas SAP Cloud ALM for handling small and independent projects. So I hope that with this, you have enjoyed the slides and this has been quite useful in terms of understanding about the transition. And I'm going to hand over back to Gary, who is going to wrap up the synergy of this dimension that we have introduced to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Yeah, I think you could just
just leave
the next slide yourself. I don't think we need to do a handover. If you just tab through, and I can quickly wrap up. Really, I wanted to introduce a slight metaphoric example of how LeanIX, SAP Signavio, SAP Cloud ALM interplay. And what's really interesting is if you look at it from, say, the viewpoint of taking a decaying industrialized old town and wanting to turn it into this vibrant metropolis, a future-proof metropolis. Now, what do you need to achieve that? Now, LeanIX serves the role or plays the role of the strategic planning department. So it looks at what needs to be built. What do we need to knock down? What do we need to renovate? It looks at the infrastructure. It looks at the facilities and the services that a new town needs to have. Now, SAP Signavio then plays the role of that traffic planning department. So it ensures that traffic flows are efficient. It makes sure that things get from A to B efficiently and on time. That bus routes are running on time, and that basically deliveries can be made on time. And then you go to the Cloud ALM element, and that's more the operations department. So that's ensuring that infrastructure is being maintained properly. It's making sure that the actual construction of everything is overseen. Even things like filling in potholes, for example. So it makes sure that it's basically the eyes of the vital signs of that city. So when we wrap it up, it is all about where things get done, how things get done, and how do we continuously implement improvements and innovations as we transform in the digital era. Now, the benefits really, in a nutshell, all around breaking down the silos and ensuring there's better consistency between enterprise architecture, processes, bringing people on board, and ensuring that the organizations can fulfill their business capabilities by using all of those factors together. It reduces risk, and the cost of benefits are almost immeasurable, because the amount of data management that manually is currently being undertaken is eliminated. So in a nutshell, these three tools are essentially greater than the sum of their all parts when we talk about transformation.
Thanks, Gary. Brilliant. Good wrap up. I think the other thing I want to mention is that we'd love to go into more detail here. We'd love to give demos of all the tools. We could get really hands-on here. We could probably extend this session to 4 hours to go into the kind of depth and detail that we'd like to. What we've tried to do instead is provide a positioning statement, try and get people to understand the relevance of focusing on these different dimensions, focus on it at the right time, and focus on it using the right approach and the right tools. So rather, we're just going to go into the detail of Signavio. We're happy. Our email addresses were on the introduction slide, and we're happy if anyone wants to reach out, and we can schedule demos. We can talk to you about this. I know we have got a few questions on the chat, which I want to get to now. But as I say, the intention of this session, which hopefully we've managed to achieve, is to raise awareness, help people to understand the relevance and the why of looking to this platform of tools, and the real benefit, the value, as Gary said, of addressing it and utilizing it as an integrated suite. We cannot overstate the benefit of making this more transparent and more visible, integrating it all together and reducing the duplication and the effort of keeping it in sync. And this really is the platform that is going to guide you to that successful transformation journey and the end point that you're trying to achieve. So without further ado, I think we can jump into some questions. Just let me lean across here and see what we've got on the chat. Shaz, let's just have a look. We've got a few questions here. I'll take them in order. Does SAP Cloud ALM need a separate license in addition to S4 Enterprise Core? No, it doesn't, because you've got a maintenance agreement for S4 Core. You are thereby entitled to use SAP Cloud ALM, and the costs for that are part of that maintenance agreement for S4, and indeed any other SAP product, cloud or on-premise, that's under enterprise licensing. So, for example, if you're using SuccessFactors, you get access to the licensing to use SAP Cloud ALM with that product as well. Ditto Ariba, and so on and so forth. So as long as you've got a valid SAP enterprise maintenance agreement, you're licensed to use SAP Cloud ALM. And one of the big benefits there is that, obviously, if you've got an existing implementation of SAP Solution Manager, maybe running on-premise, maybe taking up, cloud hyperscaler resource or on-premise data center resource, you can potentially decommission that, migrate to Cloud ALM, and the cost of hosting Cloud ALM and all the licensing are inherent in that maintenance agreement with SAP. So there's a quick win there in terms of value and cost reduction. You literally request it via SAP support portal. An instance will be provisioned for you, and you can be up and running in 30 minutes to an hour after you've completed your onboarding. It really is that simple.